When does it make sense to consolidate your debt? And what does debt consolidation even mean nowadays? Well, let's find out. Welcome to the Ascend Finance YouTube channel, where we try to help folks understand the pros and cons of debt consolidation. Keep in mind though, our videos, including this one, are purely made for informational purposes and should never be construed as legal advice. Okay, so in today's video, I want to cover a few things. First, I'm going to explain debt consolidation loans versus debt consolidation programs, then different debt consolidation pros and cons, and then finally, third, is debt consolidation worth it? All right, so I know there's a few things to cover, so I want to get right into it. That said, there's a quick thing I wanted to show you that I'll actually reference throughout the video. We built a free debt options calculator that helps you understand the credit score impact, the total all-in cost, and the estimated monthly payments to the different get out of debt options. So if you feel like during the video there's an option you want to learn more about, feel free to take the free calculator. It's going to be linked in the description, and I'll refer to this later on too. But anywho, let's get into the first thing. Debt consolidation loans versus debt consolidation programs. Now to do that, let me paint a picture. So let's say there's someone named Jeff that owes $30,000 in unsecured debt. Let's say one morning he was sharing his debt situation with a trustworthy friend. His friend tells him to look into debt consolidation. The thing is though, Jeff is like, I don't know what that really means. So he's like, I might as well Google it. And so he goes ahead and Googles it and sees what options there are to consolidate his debt. Interestingly enough, when he Googles debt consolidation, he wants to look at definitions to understand what it means. So he started reading a definition from dictionary.com that defines it: the combining of several smaller loans into a single loan in order to obtain better terms as a lower interest rate. Or he may have read another one from Wikipedia that states, debt consolidation is a form of debt refinancing that entails taking out one loan to pay off many others. So let's pause for a moment. Let's recap the story. Jeff owes $30K, his friend told him to look into debt consolidation, he looked into it, and his understanding of debt consolidation now is consolidating debt through some sort of loan. Now that we're on the same page. So does that mean debt consolidation programs consolidate your debt with a loan? Or what is really actually happening in those programs? I'll come back to that piece, but let's first dive into debt consolidation loans. So if you're looking for a debt consolidation loan, not a program, it's important to reflect on a few things: credit score, your status of the debt, whether it's current or behind, and your debt to income ratio. Now, of course, there are other things to consider as well, but let's just focus on those three in this video. So if you're already past due on the debt, it very well may be very challenging to qualify for a loan. At the same token, if your utilization is really high, you may still qualify for the loan, but the rate on the loan could be terrible. US News Money states, based on a source from Experian, you may be able to get a personal loan with a lower credit score, but a score in the good range of at least 670. That said, you may have a lower credit score than that and you may still qualify for a loan, but the rate on the loan may not be actually cost saving for you with the origination fee, with the interest rate, and the actual loan amount. That said though, I understand you may feel like you're the perfect candidate for a consolidation loan. So I'm going to link some reputable loan options to check out. I'll put them in the description. I will say this though, a lot of times people are looking for loans, but then run into an issue where a company will almost offer you a loan, but then when you get on the phone with them, they try to convince you to sign up for their debt consolidation program. I just wanted to give you a heads up, as you may check out other options as well, but I just want to make sure you're looking with your eyes wide open. Okay, so now that we've covered what a debt consolidation loan looks like and things to kind of be aware of, I want to dive into debt consolidation programs. Okay, just to quickly address the approach of pitching a loan and then switching to a program. If you get something in the mail stating that you pre-qualify for a low interest rate loan, you may find that some or all of those will just lead you to a company telling that you don't actually qualify for the loan, but you do qualify for their special debt consolidation program. But what is really involved with those programs? There's actually quite a bit to understand, which I covered in another video, but let me break down some of the most important things. First, let me talk about the process of it all, right? In short, a company is calling your creditors and negotiating settlements on your accounts. Here's the thing though. They're negotiating on past due accounts. So if you're not behind and you don't see yourself falling behind, the company will potentially try to convince you that it's a good idea to stop paying on the debt. Now, in a good situation, the company may say, oh, wow, well, I don't see you falling behind, then maybe this is not a good option. But if they're almost trying to convince you that you have to stop paying, it's just something to think about. And especially if a company is having to convince you to stop paying, although you feel deep down that you wouldn't fall behind in the debt in the first place, it may be a decent sign to at least compare other options before jumping in, right? I'm not even saying that it doesn't mean it's a good option. I'm just saying maybe worth considering all options. Okay, so the second thing, you're gonna have a monthly payment. So you're basically making a deposit into this special purpose bank account each month so that the debt consolidation program company can pull from there when they reach settlements with the creditors. Now, if you've already compared your options and feel like a debt consolidation program is best, and I get it, if that's the case, I'm gonna link some of the best debt relief companies in the description that we have found by looking at reviews and BBB, their fees, all these things, as well as a free debt options calculator that I mentioned earlier. It breaks down the monthly payment, the credit score impact, and the estimated total all-in cost to a debt consolidation program and alternative options. Okay, so back to the process of consolidation programs. So now that we understand that a company is negotiating on past due debt and you make a monthly payment, are there any serious cons to be aware of? Well, why yes, there surely are. So let's talk about the debt consolidation pros and cons. So I'll first start with debt consolidation program pros and cons, and then I'll dive into the debt consolidation loan pros and cons. So since the debt is going behind, or if you're already behind, one con is that you may be at risk of being sued by one or more of your creditors. So the fact that you have to stop paying or that you're already past due, the creditor may have the right to sue you for the unpaid debt. Now, one thing to keep in mind though, some of these companies will offer a legal plan that will basically pair you up with an attorney locally to you to help attempt to resolve any lawsuit you may run into with a creditor. The thing about that though is most of the times the legal plans are an additional cost. Although the company may try to make it seem like it's already included in your monthly payment. And if you owe a list of creditors that, let's say, have a low risk of suing based on history and data, would it actually make sense to pay for legal protection? I can actually plan to make a longer video covering the legal plans and whether they're worth it. So maybe would you mind commenting down below if you'd find that helpful? And that way, if I do see a lot of people are interested, I'll go ahead and make that and dive into really what that looks like. What do those legal plans do? Okay, so another thing to be aware of is the fact that you could have a tax obligation from this. Ultimately, it may come down to tax solvency, but we're not tax specialists, so it can be helpful to ask maybe the debt consolidation program company or the salesperson that you're speaking with there. There are, of course, other cons to consider, like your credit score going down because you're falling behind, but those are just a few things that I want to make you aware of. Okay, now let's talk about consolidation loan pros and cons. Ultimately, these are honestly going to be pretty specific to each person and their situation, but let's talk through them regardless. So some of the general pros, well, is one that you consolidate all of your payments into one. That can be really relieving mentally as well if you only have to worry about one payment each month. Another pro would be that you don't have to fall behind on the debt to utilize this kind of relief. A third pro would be that you're actually paying off credit card debt potentially and now having debt in an installment loan, which can sometimes actually report better than revolving credit. And a final pro would be that you're potentially reducing the utilization on these credit cards because you're paying the balances off. So as you can see, it can be a helpful resource, but what are some of the cons? Well, for one, it can sometimes not actually be cost saving. I see folks get fixated on qualifying for a consolidation loan, although the rate on the loan is going to be terrible because of the credit. So to piggyback off of that for the next con, you may need to have a decent credit rating to really benefit from a consolidation loan. Another con would be that you're putting yourself at risk of using those credit cards. Since you're paying off the credit card debt, you can sometimes be tempted to use these credit cards and then potentially rack up debt on those again. And now you owe the loan and the credit cards again. Now, of course, though, you're going to know yourself best, but I have seen it, so I do lump it as a potential con depending on your situation. Final con would be that it doesn't actually solve the root issues. Sometimes there's a cash flow issue, and ultimately you may need to increase your income or find a way to significantly reduce your expenses. I found that sometimes people will pay off the debt with a loan so that then they can use the credit cards to pay for their bills, which is basically sometimes just delaying the issue for later. Okay, let's bring this all back though. So is debt consolidation worth it? Ultimately, it depends on the type of debt consolidation you're considering. If you're looking at a loan and not sure if it's worth it, it may be helpful to really understand the rate of the loan, the origination fee, and the loan amount so you can estimate whether it would be actually cost saving for you. On the other hand, if you're looking at a debt consolidation program and not really sure if it's worth it, something you may want to consider asking yourself is, do I see myself having to fall behind on the debt if nothing changes? Basically what you're asking yourself is, if you're not seeing that you'll need to fall behind in the first place, it may be a sign that it can make sense to look at other options before making a decision. For instance, if you owe only on credit cards and you're not able to qualify for a loan, but you really just need the interest rates on the credit cards reduced, well then nonprofit debt management may be something to look at. Just because a company is trying to convince you an option is your best doesn't really mean it's always your best. Look at things unbiasedly, and that way you're able to make the most informed decision. Now, to help with that, you can take our free debt options calculator. I've mentioned this multiple times. It will break down each option's monthly payment, total all-in cost, and the estimated credit score impact. It's free. It's also linked in the description. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I really hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at 833-272-3631. Have a great day.